Guys, we're back with another episode of Just Context Podcast, episode 16. Um, Guys, I would say this: when it comes to gaining information that comes from the places that I've never even dreamed of. Today we will be exploring a new endeavor, something that I can say for the least I have no knowledge about, and I think for the fact that I have no knowledge is the greatest part of learning. I have a beautiful young lady here. Her name is Davette Wheat, if I said that correctly. So if I can get a round of applause. Um,
Yay.
hey, Davette, if I can give you the opportunity just to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me and just exploring this conversation. I really appreciate that. So, my name is Davette. I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I live in Newport Beach right now. I've been there about 20 years, and I'm a professional numerologist, a hypnotherapist, um, and I'm a life path coach. So I started studying numerology about 20 years ago and just became so intrigued with its accuracy and just how it works. Um, and it's just become a passion of mine. And so anytime I meet somebody new or I'm um, curious about somebody's personality type, whether it be someone I'm working with or someone I've dated or someone on TV or in politics or whatever, I like to figure out what their number is because I'm like, where are they coming from? With what they're bringing to the table or their personality type, and it tells me a lot about someone. Probably more. I probably know more about someone than they know about themselves at certain times. So it's kind of I call it my
Phone
Jedi mind
disconnected.
tricks.
Okay, so I'm actually super excited about this because I don't really know much about numerology, but I'm into astrology. So whereas you would probably be like, "Oh, what's this person's number?" I'm like, "What's their sign?"
Right, right.
I know that they're not the same. Sometimes they coexist in reading sometimes, um, but I know almost basic things about numerology. So like my best friend and I, his wife, and I, we sometimes will see, like 555 and like 1111, and so we have these I guess explanations that we'll keep on our phone, like a little screenshot of like what they mean, and I find it really cool, and I'm constantly seeing like repeating numbers and stuff like that. But I don't know enough about it to feel what's the word, confident, I guess, in having a conversation about it.
Right.
Like I do with astrology, I'm real good with signs. Just tell me
Yeah.
your and I can spout stuff off, right? So I really do want to get, at least a basic knowledge of numerology. So I'm kind of excited that you're here.
Yeah.
So tell us, I guess, in basic terms, how you can even tell what someone's number is.
Okay. Well, first, it's funny because I'm not too familiar with astrology, but I'm all about numerology. But
Okay.
what I have found is that they definitely complement each other. So they don't contradict. They go hand in hand, which just shows how valid it is because it's like if it's true, it's true, right? So yeah, I'm the same way when someone tells me like their sign, I have a basic idea. I'm a Pisces, just by the way, just so you know. um, but with numerology, so let me put it this way. Everything is numbers, right? Like everything can be calculated. There's an equation to everything, whether you're baking a cake or you're trying to, um, you know, schedule a date and a, time to your bank account, to your car, VIN numbers, to, exchange with money, to distance, time. I mean, everything can be measured or labeled with numbers. So everything is numbers. And what made it really real for me is that, well, first of all, I'm a Christian, so I believe in the Bible. I believe, Jesus, and um, the Bible used numerology throughout the whole Bible. And so I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like, to me, what would it matter, if it wasn't something significant there? There were times in the Bible where God would change somebody's name when he would set them on a new mission. And sometimes just the spelling of a name, or sometimes he would say, you shall call him this. And it's like, why would that really matter? But they would set on a new mission and something about them would be different. So that started really making me become more curious and more interested in what the significance is of numbers. So, so I believe every single one of us has been created for a specific purpose. Like, you're here for a reason. You have a very important role in life and in the, evolution of humanity. So the day that you were born, you don't get to choose that, right? But you're born on a specific day. And so when you add up the month, the day, and the year, right? So like mine, I'm March 11, 1973. So you would do the 3 plus the 1 plus the 1 plus the 1 for the 19, 9 plus 7 plus 3. You add it all up and it comes out to 25. And the idea is you want to get to a single digit. So then 2 plus 5 is 7. So in numerology, there's all you really need to know is 1 through 9. 1 always represents independence and number 1 and being first. 2 always represents like the duality, the yin and the yang, extreme high and extreme low, and it's also the peacemaker. 3 is always the creative, the entertaining, the fun, class clown, beautiful, maybe the artist or the fashion designer. 4 is always about building and rebuilding and invention and ideas and structure, which is really interesting because we're in a 4-year cycle. 2020, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is about rebuilding. So that's kind of what's happening right now. 5 always represents the fun, freedom, adventure, the wild ones, the ones that are, dancing on the table with a lampshade on their heads, at the parties. 6 always represents the nurture, the natural parent, the one that's always looking out for everybody. 7 always represents spirituality and depth and like the deep questions and the meanings of life. Okay. 8 is the money number. So 8 always represents leadership and executive ability and the business and getting stuff done. And then 9 always is the humanitarian. It's the giver. The 9s can be a little selfish sometimes, and they need to learn to be selfless. So each number is consistent with what it represents. Okay, 1 through 9.
So I'm dying right now because I'm an 8. And
Wait. Hold on, Jill. You already added up your number?
no, that's what I was just doing.
Oh man, I should have started adding up my number. Oh my gosh. All right, I'll let you go. We're gonna have to come back to my number. Jill, you go.
I literally was like, oh, okay, let me just like pull out the calculator right now. You see my phone? I'm just like, okay, what's my number? I mean, I probably could have told you that I was an 8 because I have a lot of 8s regardless. I'm 88. I'm on the 8th. Yeah.
Wow.
But that was just wild because I mean, personally, I'm not going to toot my own horn here, but I think I'm an 8.
Yeah. So 8s are, 8s like to be in control. They're the controllers. They're usually the business minded ones. what eights struggle with, just to give you a warning or a heads up, is that because you need everything, you need to be in control of everything, and technically you don't have control over everything, and that can really stress you out, because it's like, I need this to be a certain way, and it's really hard, but you have to learn to be like, okay, I can control how I feel about it or how I react, but you can't side of you. So I know that a lot about eights, but they're about the money. They're about getting stuff done, business building. They tend to be a lot of fun too. The eights in my life love to laugh. Like, things always happen to them. They'll be the one to like trip on the rock and fall down and get hurt or something, but they're always a lot of fun.
Yeah. So definitely a control freak, and that's something that I'm actually working on this year. Kind of just, let go and let God.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that I can't have control over things because I don't even have control over my own, much less anything else, because, tell God a plan and he'll laugh at you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is literally the year that I'm in right now. I'm in this, like, all right, you got to stop with the foolishness, basically. Just, accepting things for what they are. And it's tough. It really is, because, with the control issues that I've had, I mean, it's stress, it's anxiety. It's like, I need it this way. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And, it's a muscle that you have to exercise. And when you get good at just building that muscle, as soon as something is out of your control, to be able to go in and be like, I don't have control over this, and that's okay. I'm glad I don't have to control this, because then it takes a lot of the weight off of you too, of having to, because at the end of the day, we all just want things to be good. We just want people to be happy. We want our family to be happy. We want to be, we want the people that we love to be doing good. And we, as an eight, you take on that responsibility, because you're so strong and because you're strong-minded and you know how to get stuff done. It's easy for you to say, okay, well, someone might be, lazier about things, and you're like, let's get it done. So yeah, it's a muscle that you have to exercise in practicing to, just be like, I have no control, and that's okay, ha ha ha, until you get really good at that. But it's who you are, and that's a beautiful thing. So you won't ever not want to have control of things, but you can change your relationship with it. You can say, all right, I'm just going to ride with it, or, whatever affirmation you can do. For me, I used to say a lot, and I still do, when things are out of my control and I'm feeling myself get really anxious, I just say, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. Like, I trust you. You're in control. I trust you. And it gives me that peace, because, and we all just want good at the end of the day. Yeah. We just go about it differently.
All right. Hold on. Just so I can be back in context. Now I want to redo my number, because now I want to make sure I got the number right.
I think you're a 2.
How much? Wait, okay, so.
What's your birthday?
All right, here we go. It's June 28th, 1984. And guys, don't be putting no look upon my information, because my birthday. We're just a little bit in and out of context today, guys.
So you're June 28th, 1984.
That's correct.
Okay. So yeah, so then you would be, because it comes out to 38, right?
Right.
And 8 plus 3 is 11. So 11s are 11 and 111 and 11 and 22, and 33 are considered master numbers. They're just a little bit more intense. And so what a 2 is 2s are the peacemakers. They're really good people. They're very calm and good natured, but you don't bleep with the 2 because they're the type that if they feel threatened or pushed against the wall, they can become like a volcano exploding. Like they're the ones, they're very good, but you don't want to like mess with them. And um they're the duality, so they want, they're the mediators. They want peace. They want, usually if two people are arguing, they'll kind of be the one to try to settle things down and let's talk about this, what do you need? And you know they tend to be really good connectors too. They usually know everybody and people just want to be connected with them. And it's like, I need a dentist, or I need a contractor or whatever, and they're usually like, oh, let me see, I know this guy and I know this person. And so yeah.
That's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, you hit a lot of nails with that one because in my personal endeavors, yes, I would say I'm very much more intrigued. Normally within the podcast, I don't say there's areas of the podcast that people need to go back and listen to, but I'm gonna say, guys, you can start from the first 2 minutes because just the numeral scale alone has my mind boggling at this moment, like has me jumping around. On the endeavors of numerology, I would say this probably because I've never dabbled in it before to look at my strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's one of the things numerology can set to identify is strengths and weaknesses because for one, Janelle exuberates her strengths. I'll say that more than anything else. I guess that's the power of the eighth, is knowing your strength and thriving on it. Even though in her weakness, she will eradicate it because she doesn't pay attention to her weaknesses. I think that's what, as she said, this year is what she's working on
Right.
because weakness doesn't really exist in her world. So I can definitely understand her way of thought. I would wish that I would have taken this endeavor on a little bit earlier. There's something that you said that did kind of boggle my mind because normally people who's into astrology, like Janella and I as well, or people are into other things, doesn't cross reference a lot of the information with God. Not to throw the information into in two different aspects, but you kind of hit a lot because I do know one of the most powerful number in the Bible is seven. So just if you can reiterate, can you just give me another definition of seven for anybody else who wants to know? Because I know that number does resonate in the Bible a lot. Just so I can have that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so seven is considered, so they say seven is like the perfect number. I wouldn't call it like perfect number, but I would say complete. Whenever God uses seven, it usually reference completeness, right? When he says, 70 times seven, or on the seventh day, it's like it's complete. Seven is very spiritual, very deep, um, and just really into like the deeper sides of life. I'm a seven life path, which is why I'm like, what is this numerology? And wow, okay, so the other thing too, I thought that's interesting because when a man and a woman get married and she takes on his last name, I've heard so many men say she changed after we got married, she's not the same, she's a little different. And I'm thinking, her name changed. How interesting is that? Because now she's, has this name, this energy on her. Um, so sevens ask those deeper questions, and they are very spiritual. Doesn't have to necessarily be like religious, or it could be spiritual. They're very in tune with their just their soul side. And yeah, seven. So seven usually just represents completeness, um, and it's linked to God number. I mean, he even says the number of the beast, 666. You know,
Whoa.
labeled. So I mean, so numbers are really really relevant, and it's almost like this hidden language that people don't know is there, like body language.
Mm.
Like, I've studied body language for a while, and you can tell when somebody's interested when they lean in and they want to hear, or when someone is hiding something, they're usually like closed, and not always. Just because somebody stands, with their arms closed doesn't mean they're hiding. They could just be cold. But you can gauge how people are by looking at their body language and like their facial expressions and how they shift in their seat, and it tells you everything more than what they're saying. I like to say listen to what they're not saying, right? And you see that in their body language. So with numerology, it gives a whole new perspective to how we human, how we understand each other. Um, it's easy to look at someone and say, well, why are they doing that certain thing? I wouldn't do that. If I was them, I would not do it that way. Well, of course, because you have different energies. You're coming from a different place. So like for me, I'm the type of person that I will jump and I'll pack my parachute on the way down. And someone that's like a 4 life path, that would drive them insane and crazy. And maybe even an 8, because 8s, you need to have the structure. You need to know it's going to work. And then you're all in. And me, I'm like, we'll figure it out, when we get there. And I know I drive some people crazy, but that's like how I live my life. And it's exciting for me.
What's kind of wild to me is that everything you're describing about number 7 is also Pisces.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Pisces are very into their spirituality. They're very into, energies and vibes and even nature. And they're very go with the flow kind of people. So it's just interesting that you have like double.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I'm saying I drive some people crazy, you have no idea, because I'm intensely that way, but it works for me. It really does. And, I don't always do a lot of planning. I just I go with it, and I like to see what happens and like what's created from it. And I feel great in that space. Um, you know, Not to say that it doesn't get me in trouble sometimes, but even that sometimes is the fun part. That's the cat in me, the curious cat that find myself in trouble. But
So we had talked previously about, I guess, attributing numerology to what's going on right now. We're in the middle of elections. Um, and so I thought that it was interesting that that was even a thing, that we talk about the numerology behind the elections.
Yeah, absolutely.
So take us there.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought that was really interesting as well, because um
Well,
for
actually, first let's start with like the candidates and their numbers. So, yeah, okay, so Donald Trump was born June 14th, 1946.
so he's a 4 life path too. So he's a 4. Fours are the builders, the natural builders. He's a builder, right? Um, I mean, he's made his success through real estate and building. Um, so he kind of fits in this year in a really good way, in my opinion, because as everything is kind of breaking down, like you can't have a breakthrough without a breakdown. If you're going to rebuild something, you have to kind of like tear it down. And I don't think that's like intentional by anybody, but yet that's kind of like what's happening by just the universe says so. It's time for a shift. Um, I'm excited about this year. 2020 has been amazing for me. I am so excited that we have unplugged and we're plugging back in, and we're going to have new perspective and new insight and a new rebuilding of who we are in our families and in business and in this country and world. So Donald Trump fits in that. He kind of lines up perfectly, which is kind of weird to me. It's not weird, but it's kind of like, that's interesting, that he would be in that.
A 4 in a 4 year.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so then we have Biden, who is November 20th, 1942.
So he's November 20th, 1942. November 20th, 1942. Okay, so he is a 2. He's a 2 life path. And I'm surprised I hadn't done his number before. But how would I interpret that? So as a 2, Um, I mean, he seems to, up until like maybe now in this last couple of weeks, he seems to like have get along with everybody. Like he seems to be kind of like twos can be very people pleasing. They want to keep everybody happy. So, um, I mean, with that smile that he gives and everything, it kind of seems like he will kind of trying to word this correctly because I'm going really deep here. My mind's just spinning, but almost kind of will say something to keep people happy, and I don't want to say. I mean, I'm not sure where everybody stands politically, but I mean, it seems like he's not the sharpest shooter lately from what's like kind of been coming out, and I wonder if that's not a way of what's being exposed is that he's just kind of going with what he thinks people want to hear, maybe, or what he, is trying to make everybody happy when he might have different intentions. So I'm not sure.
I think just looking back on everything that I know about him, I think the two kind of make sense to me when it comes to the things that he's actually been able to accomplish. So when we look back on the huge thing that everybody chastises him for, which was the crime bill, and realize how much compromise had to go into that to actually get it passed because there were, I mean, people on both sides wanted that. There were Democrats and Republicans that were pushing for it, including the Black community, right? Because it was just riddling everywhere, right? So just imagining what he had to actually compromise, but also be on almost like both sides of the fence to get something like that passed, because that was a huge thing back then.
Yeah.
So it's interesting just, attributing the number to personality and figuring out, how that works with what, him and Trump are doing or has been able to do.
Like how it fits in. Yeah, because two is the duality too. So it's the yin and the yang. It's the good and the bad. It incorporates all of that. And so that's a good point that you make, is that he literally had to kind of be both in order to do that. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, not to interject, but I think that kind of sums up a lot of things that I would say. My concern is, I think both candidate numbers fits them perfectly to the reason why the country at this moment is at their debate, because you would say you will give Trump based on his number as him being a builder, and Biden with his number as a two. I'm going to use the word healer in the moment because he wants to bring everybody together. The issue with bringing everybody together at times is that there's too big of a compromise. There is times, and I will say this to myself, and this is one of the reasons that the position that I am in my life right now is where I'm in. It's to the point where I really don't want to make everybody happy. I'm at the point where I'm that narrative where I'm if you're not the wife or the kids or that close to the ring, I'm not, you're no longer it. And it took me a reason, quite some time to figure that out. So I'm kind of happy to know the number, but I would say based on the compromises on sometimes if you've gone to a construction site and you understand how infrastructures is built, it's not built the right way. It looks pretty when it's finished,
Yeah.
but when it's being built, it's not being built the right way. And a lot of times we sit there and we fixate on the outer look and keep forgetting that the piping system is not correct inside of the wall. Now, and I'm just going to, that's the reference the builder, but along with the two who I would say this, I'm going to use the compromiser, right? How much are we as a country going to be willing to compromise to get what we want? And as bad as it sounds, we're in an age right now where people don't want to do too much compromising. So I guess in this moment, the credibility of both candidates kind of do fit the narrative to where both sides would like to lead. I would say this. I think it's great because I think the fact that we're deciding is either we want to heal or build is a good conversation.
Yeah.
Because I would say this from the Republican standpoint, they're looking at it like, hey, do you know what? Yeah, there's drainage in the wall, right? But we're trying to build back or build on what we've had before, which I would say this in strong narrative mind frame. I guess I'm going to quote 50 Cent for a little bit, because he's talking about his tax plan. His financial endeavors will dictate where his vote will go, right? And then you're at the nation where I would say this minorities in the sense is going through the mental path that um, we need healing. We just need to feel like we're one. We're no longer considered half of 50 cents or half of a dollar,
Yeah.
right? We're considered a dollar just as much. So in the greatest sense, we're really at that standpoint in what narrative does get pushed. Do we go for healing because we got to heal people, or do we build it without healing? So I would say this.
Yeah.
I think the numerology standpoint is very good. I would love for people to, in the political standpoint, to gauge these numbers directly so they can understand what's really needed.
Yeah.
Not saying I would like to tell anybody where to vote. I got my little sticker on if you can't see me, but you know, I'm
Nice.
I'm rocking it. We voted, but I said I vote my interest.
Yeah.
And but I will say this, it's very intriguing to
Yeah.
see the numbers. Now, along with the political side,
Mhm.
I'm a little bit, I don't want to use the word devilish because I don't give no power to Satan. I'm feeling a little bit devious. I would like to know some compatibility numbers for
Mhm.
numerology just so I can jump around, just because I would like to see where it was, because then again, I want to do the compatibility number just so you understand, and I want to take it back to the founding number of the United States of America and see which one of these two guys that we think maybe compatible at this current moment. But I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Wait, so is that actually a thing? Is there compatibility in numerology?
So, I mean, some numbers do get along better with others, for
Okay.
sure. Some numbers can be toxic. Um, Now, I mean, as far as like building or healing, I think that's like a really good point. And I think that what's interesting is that we're all in different cycles too. Just like there's a time, to plant, there's a time to grow. There's a time for everything. And so that's where for me, I just kind of like to give it to God in that sense, because I don't know. I mean, are we supposed to be building right now, or are we supposed to be healing? Or sometimes God's like, well, you need to go through this because this is going to make you stronger and then you're going to heal, but first this needs to happen. And so I can drive myself in crazy trying to figure out what's the right way to do it, and I mean, sometimes, as a country we're supposed to be built up, and sometimes we need to be broken down. And so I like to look at the whole world perspective, but it kind of throws me off into space sometimes too. And I have to remember to come back into right here, right now, and the people around me, and what my gifts are and what my purpose is, and making sure that I'm affecting my community and my family and doing my part, letting people know how amazing and magnificent every single one of us is, how enough we are, and um, how special every single one of us is, and we all have different gifts and talents. Um, but it is good to know, who you're compatible with, and where there's toxic. Like both my daughters, I have two daughters, and our relationship both of them is toxic, which totally makes sense because we butt heads so much. But because we know this, we accept that our differences, you know for example, one of my daughters is a 3, which is the fashion designer. She graduated from FITM, which is a fashion school. My other daughter's a 6, yeah, which is the natural parent. that has created issues because since she was a small child, she would always kind of have that parental authority a little bit, like, come on, mom, let's go to bed, or mom, telling me what to do. And then I'd find myself saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm the mom, you're the daughter, and sometimes she'd get me caught up in it. And I'd be like, wait a minute. So when I realized, wow, like, this is her personality type, I don't have to take offense to it. Like, she can't help it. And so I found ways to communicate with her and with my other daughter. So if we were all making dinner, I know my younger daughter, which is the natural parent, I would have her help me in the kitchen, and that was like perfect. My other daughter, who's like the creative fashion designer, she wanted to set the table and make that all look pretty. And if I didn't know that about their number, you know, that could have, I mean, you hear parents sometimes saying, why can't you be like your other sibling? And then that causes like hurt, I'm not enough, or my parent wants me to be different than who I am. And that was just so significant for me because, one daughter, I'm like, hey, honey, you want to help me make dinner? And she's like, yeah, she's putting her hair back in a ponytail and she's tearing, fat off chicken. And my other daughter, hey, you want to set the table and make it look really pretty? And oh, she's happy making it look all nice and pretty. And then I'm a happy mama because they're both, enjoying what they're doing. So,
Yeah. So, can I ask when their birthdays are or what signs they are?
yes. So, my youngest daughter, who's a 6, her name's Alyssa. She's a Leo. Her birthday.
Wait, hold on, pause. Just so you know, my wife is a Leo and she's also a 6. So we,
Oh my goodness.
so, we, so I'm gonna let you continue, and that's her personality for sure.
It
Now
is.
continue.
That's why I
Yeah.
bust out laughing. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Imagine, you know, being the parent of, you know, that strong personality, because she is so strong and bossy and controlling because parents know best, right? So she's coming from a parental perspective. Yeah, so that's interesting. So my other daughter, who's a 3, she's a Sagittarius, I believe, December 7th.
Yeah, Sagittarius.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's way more easygoing, but she's nobody's doormat for sure. She's a very strong personality type too. But she definitely fits the 3 personality and just likes to, make the world beautiful. Threes are
Now,
really expressive in their arts or music or acting or something. They express through other means.
I will say this, based on the fact that you've given both of their numbers and their different personalities, and from what I've known about siblings from a Leo and a Sagittarian, they do butt heads because I guess they're both strong personality in their both sense. The Leo will definitely would like to get their point across, and the Sagittarian being a little bit I would like to say mentally mentally derived just to mess with them. We'll take their accomplishments and break it down and make it look silly. So they'll normally go through those small little butt heads. But I definitely
Yeah,
do see where there's no their numbers play. Now I'm gonna
yeah.
take this one just so I can sneak this one in for my wife, right? Since I'm a 2
Hmm.
and she's a 6, we would like to know what you think about the compatibility ratio of it. She's laughing
Yeah,
because she's mentally laughing right now. So I'm gonna let you dissect that one for our audience.
that's funny. Yeah, so that's interesting because my daughter being a 6, I have a grandson now, and he's also a 2. So I see their relationship and their dynamic. So it's really interesting. So to Before I answer that question, let me just say that as long as I've been doing this, I see the most interesting patterns. For example, my dad is a 4 life path, and I married a 4 life path. Um, were divorced. My daughter, the father of my grandson is also a 4 life path, and my other daughter is now about to get married to a 4 life path. And you know how they say you marry like your father or whatever, women. And I just thought that was so interesting because it's all kind of come down the line. So now to answer your question, so what I found, what works for me, how I interpret relationships is your number plus the other person's number is the vibe between you. Okay. So a 6, 7, 8. So you guys have an 8 relationship, meaning that you guys probably you like the finer things, like you like quality versus quantity. Um, 8s, you guys probably, I don't know if you guys are in business together or you guys, 8 is the money number. So something around money, because so however 8 is described for a personality is kind of how it is in the relationship too. So 8s usually have like a lust for life. They like the finer things. They like the vacations. They like the expensive things. And I mean, it's kind of to say, who doesn't kind of like those kind of things, but it's more intense usually like with an 8. So yeah, like that quality, physical touch, you know, um, 8s are really sexy. So,
Well, I definitely agree with you, the 8 being sexy, but but I guess that correlates with my next conversation because I've realized that eight as a power number thrives off 8. Would you say that for my dynamics with me and my wife, number being 8 is one of the reasons why Janelle in our life as well, being that her number is an 8, is that we're so driven together because we coexist with each other?
probably because I see that a lot. I really see where it fits in. And that's what goes to show that, like, there's a pattern, there's a purpose. You're meant to intertwine with certain people for a certain reason. And I mean, if you guys have an 8 relationship, then of course she would fit in absolutely perfectly and be, friends, with both of you guys instead of, just friends with your wife, friends with both of you. And you probably fit in perfectly with the whole business side of it. And yeah, I would definitely say that would be a great whether it's a business partnership or friendship or how that works out.
So, because we kind of took a little detour because I'm so interested in like the personal aspect of this. But so, Cien, your question about the country versus what was it, the election or the candidates? So,
Yes, because what I was kind of hoping for, and I guess I do need to look this up while we're talking. I would like to go back to, we both have both candidates' number, which is a 4 and a 2. Am I said that correctly?
Right.
Right. I would like to get back to the number of the founding number of the country.
so
If I,
5.
I'm sorry,
That's
it's a
5.
5.
5. So
Yeah.
it's July 4th, 1776.
Yes.
Oh,
And so I would like to see what number would the country itself fall under. And can you repeat that number for me one more time, Janelle, please?
5.
So the country is a 5.
wow. That's interesting because 5 represents fun, freedom, and adventure.
All
And I
right,
never
guys. Wait,
thought
wait,
about the
hold
country.
on.
Yeah.
Guys, just so I can put that back in context, the vet, can you please repeat that for me, please? Because I would like to have that one in context, just for everybody to realize the the purity and the greatness which awaits everyone who is listening to the podcast outside of the United States of America to know why they should be here. And I'll let you repeat that
Yeah,
for me, please.
absolutely. That is so beautiful to know this right now, and it's true. Um, so the country is a 5, and it makes complete sense because the 5 represents what 5 in numerology represents is fun, freedom, and adventure. And I mean, just that freedom in there makes complete sense. And I mean, from coast to coast, from California to New York and everything in between. I mean, there's just so much fun and exploring to do, and just travel in our own country. It's just so, I mean, from the mountains, and I mean the songs that we sing about this stuff it's just so revealing. So yeah, fun, freedom, and adventure is America.
Um, okay. Um, because we have Caribbean background, I just did the calculations. Jamaica is also a 5.
Hey.
Guys, just so we can put that one back in context.
Fun, freedom, and adventure. Woo!
This is fun. Okay, I also want to give a short breakdown. I think we've gone through 5 twos, 6, 4, 7. So can we do the rest of numbers in terms of personality types or people that would have this number? So let's start with 1.
Okay, so ones are independent. They're the natural leaders. They need to be number 1. They strive to be the best at everything they do. They need to be number 1. Yeah, someone that I dated was a 1 personality type, and you know I mean, just loved being, you're the best and you're amazing and you're number 1. I mean, they thrive off of being number 1, and they're very competitive and independent, just as a 1 stands on its own. So that would be a 1.
So what about we did 2 already, so what about 3?
So 3s they're considered the communicators. They're very expressive and creative. They're like a divine number. They're a creative number because of like the triangle and the 3, the like the Trinity. And 3s they like to make things beautiful, and they like to, when they express themselves, it's usually through their style of fashion or their paintings or their writings or their music or through their acting. They usually tend to be like the class clowns. They like to laugh, and they're usually really good at communicating, but it's not always verbal. They're usually really good verbally. They're good communicators, but they're really expressive. So they like it to be, in a creative, artistic way.
Okay, so 3s are the creatives.
Yes.
Any creatives. Okay, and what about 6? Did we do 6?
Sixes,
Yes, we
so
did
that,
do 6.
yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so we did 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 9.
So
Yes.
9. So 9 is considered the most evolved number in numerology because they're the humanitarians. And I think that's what we are all striving to evolve to, is to be in service and to be giving, right? It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And it's hard for us to like really get that. So I think that's what we evolve into. So 9s are they're also natural leaders. They're not very good at following. They do things their own way. They're the type that um, you'll think that they're following your direction, but they're really like leading you to where they want to go. But they're really good. Um, they're usually just chill, and they tend to have like a higher vibration, and people can kind of feel that around them. They're very good natured, very, they care. They're the ones that, if they see an old lady crossing the street, they'll, pull over and want to go help her, or, help, the handicapped or less fortunate. They're the humanitarians.
So, okay, so I have 2 questions, but let's start with this one. In astrology, we have all of the different signs throughout our houses, and our charts also have different planets in them as well. That represents, if I have, for example, my Venus is in Aquarius. So my love, the way that I love, or the way that I want to be loved, is described with Aquarius tendencies, right? In numerology, is there any overlap is like an 8 person, can they also be somewhat of a 9 or somewhat of a 7?
Absolutely, because the numbers that I'm describing about a person, right? You're an 8, you're a 2, I'm a 7. That's your life path number. So that tells the most about you. That is basically what your life is set up to look like what you will experience through your life path, okay? Um, but there's also your name that you can break down, and that's a little bit more complicated. But when you break down someone's name, you get to their destiny number, and that's the name that they're given at birth. So not the name that just that they go by, but the actual name that they were given at birth, like on their birth certificate, that determines your destiny. So you go through your life path, and that's where you will ultimately arrive, but you have those traits because they're part of your like matrix. You also get to a person's, some people call it their soul urge. I call it your heart's desire, because it's the thing in life that, for example, if someone's heart desire is like a 1, that means they're striving to be the best at what they're being. They're always like, it's so important to them that's what they want to do in their life. And it's the one thing that can actually trip them up, because they might get too attached to, it's what they're chasing. For some people it's love, for some people it's money, or for some people it's, I want to save the world, my, heart's desire is to be a humanitarian. And it's that thing, it's that part of them that they want really bad, that it'll elude them if they're too attached. So not any person is just one number. However, the life path number is really the only thing you really need to know about someone, to be honest with you. You know that number, you get them in a very powerful way. Now, all these other aspects from your name and stuff like that you can break down, then it shows more of those personality traits. For example, you might be an 8 life path, but you might have um 4 twos in your name some other way too, which means 2 would be really intense for you. So you can break down some of these like whole matrix to tell a lot about them. And of course, you always have choice. You could be on the positive or the negative side of your number. And usually when someone is like really off track and they're not like living what they're here to do, they can fall into addiction, or they just have issues and they're just like unhappy and they're off track. So um yeah, so there's a lot to you. Plus, the family that you grew up in and whatnot helps, form your opinions and your experiences and stuff. But the core of you, of who you are, um, I believe is really told in your matrix. It's almost like your recipe, your cake recipe, and what's thrown in there. Some of us have nuts on top.
So I know you said that it's kind of complicated, but how would one go about figuring out what their name represents? Is there, like, how do you calculate that?
So there's a just slipped my mind, not a chart, but like, so basically, if you go across and you write 1 through 9, okay, and then you under that you do A, B, C, D, all the way to 9, and then under you start again all the way to 9. That's like the what's the word?
Like
The
the,
legend.
yeah.
Yeah, like that would help you break it down. Then what you're going to do is you're going to separate the vowels and the consonants. And so the vowels determine one thing, the consonants determine another thing, and then you add them together and that determines another thing. And I mean, it's really not that complicated. It looks complicated, and it's a little hard to kind of like, I guess, just describe it, verbally, without kind of like just showing you exactly what that looks like. Actually, I think I have, well, this is going to be on a audio, but you can even do like a Google search and see kind of what it looks like. It's not really that complicated. It seems complicated, but just all you really need to do is understand the numbers 1 through 9 and what they represent, and then just really where everything fits in, and yeah.
Okay. So, my last question. You said that numbers can be toxic. What toxic numbers are there, or how do you know that the number is toxic for your life?
So it would be, I'm referring more to like who you are and another number. So for example, being that, I'm a 7, um, a 6 and a 3 tend to be toxic. Just our number mixed together, we just don't drive sometimes. We're coming from two different planets. So it's like I have one way of thinking, and that sometimes there's just people that you're just like, they're a great person, but I just like, I'm not feeling it. I don't really like feel
Gotcha.
that with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sian, did you have any other questions? Oh,
Well, it's fine. I mean, I think everything is running perfectly, but I do have one final question. I think that will bring me back into fruition. We talked about the country and what the presidents or the candidates technically would be. We found out that Joe Biden was a 2, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The country is a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And what was Trump number again? Because that kind of eluded me. He was a 4. So okay, we basically, and then we realize that when we get into a relationship, our numbers now add with each other. So
Right.
and just so we can reiterate this, guys, just for fun, because we can take this one out of context.
Mm-hmm.
If the country goes under Joe Biden, we will be a 7. Can we just repeat one more time what a 7 would be?
Yeah, and that's exactly how I would interpret that. So if I sat down and I was saying, okay, well, let me see how this candidate would actually be for the country, I would add their number, their life path number, to the country number, and that would, tell, tell me exactly like what that vibe would be. So for Joe Biden, so that would be like a 7 vibe. Um, so 7 is the spiritual number. It's very deep. Sevens, though, tend to have a really hard time communicating because because they're so deep. So for me, being a 7 life path, I know that sometimes I'm just I have these massive, deep ideas, and I'm literally figuring out like this planet stuff, or like, wow, this woman's name changes. That's why she's different, and my mind is going all these places. And then I try to like spit it out in English, and I'm just like, it's hard for me to express what I'm trying to say because I'm feeling it so deep. So sevens have a hard time communicating, I think would be maybe a challenge, but they're very, it's complete. So maybe there would be more of a sense of a completeness, and spirituality, very, deep. Um, yeah, that's how I would describe that. And
All right.
then,
The other one, Donald Trump would be a 9, correct?
oh,
yes, Donald Trump would
Yeah.
be a 9. So
Yes.
9 is the humanitarian. So, and it's a more evolved number, in numerology. So, I would imagine, I mean, the 9 vibe is, maybe there would be the healing, or maybe, you know, we'd be more giving. But, yeah, it's 9 is the humanitarian, um, and 7 is the faith seeker.
okay.
So, yeah. So,
Oh,
just interesting to play with, because I mean, I think that it is very valid, and we'll see, what'll happen. We'll be able to look back on this and be like, wow, that's, that fits, or maybe it fits the number, but like in a different way. And that's really what I've done over the past 20 years, is I've just been in question, and I still am. I'm in, what else is available? What else is possible? Um, with numbers, and understanding just how we all operate, and how, um, what's best for us, what's best for the country, what's best for each other, and um, yeah, discovering.
Well, I would like to say this. Based on this episode, um, if there's one thing I will be using for the next couple hours, will be a calculator. Just for everybody's
Heck
information, so we can put that back in context. Um,
I definitely was sitting there throughout the entire episode, pulling up my phone, like, oh, what number is this one? What number is this one?
yeah.
Let's add them together.
Yeah, and I'm in the middle of writing a book right now about numerology, and I'll let you guys know as soon as it's out, because I want numerology to just be in everybody's like top of their mind. You know, if you're getting in a new business deal, you should know who this person is and
mhm.
how you drive. You know, I mean, I absolutely would want to get into business with an 8 life path, because I know this person is about the money and getting stuff done. And, you know, there could be conflict because I'm a 7 and I'm a Pisces, so I'm slippery and I break rules. So, you know, so there's just things to consider, but I want it to be as simple and basic as possible, because when you look at any numerology now, or you look at other numerology books, it just seems so complicated and so, you know, like you need somebody to translate it. And I'm creating something that's going to be just really user friendly, that you could be like, huh, I'm interested in dating this guy. What's his number? Oh my gosh, the last 12 guys are the same number. I'm not dating this guy again. And I have people that come to me for that. They'll literally send me a text message and they'll be like, girl, what's this guy's number? Or guys, you know, what's her number? Are we compatible? And it's like the same numbers keep showing up for the people that are just dating the same people, which is interesting, but
But like
it'll
you're
be as
there in the
basic.
cycle.
Yes, yes. And so we kind of laugh about it, but I highly recommend that, yeah, you get out your calculator and, you know, you figure out your parents and understand where they're coming from, and your siblings and just people in your life that you want to understand better, because when you understand their number, you understand kind of what their need is.
Right.
Hmm.
And yeah, absolutely.
No,
So I am super excited that you just said that you're writing a book. So I expect that you will let us know when the book is,
Absolutely.
and we will let all of our listeners know as well.
yeah.
Do
Awesome.
you have a name yet?
I don't. I'm kind of playing with it. I'm Decode Your Destiny, something that I have down, but I'm open for it to come to me. So yeah, as soon as it's done, I'll decide on a name. I have a couple that I'm thinking of, and I don't want it to be so woo woo mysterious. I want it to just be really like, wow, this is a personality type, and I'm gonna make this work. And you know, I'm throwing in some stuff how to make it work with other, you know, numbers and stuff like that too. So, you know, maybe we can all just get along a lot better and just respect each other's come from. You know, we're all different. And I mean, when you're baking a cake, you don't compare like the sugar and the salt. You know, you need both. It's not like the sugar's like, why aren't you, you know, sweeter? It's like you need both. You need the baking soda, you know, you need this stuff. So um yeah, so I'll definitely let you guys know, and then maybe we can even do another podcast then too, and go a little bit more in depth. And
Oh,
uh,
that will be a definite no. No, Miss Davette, I think this is your moment. I like to call this a Michael Jackson tour. This is it. But at this point, I would like for you to plug yourself, please. How anyone would be able to reach out to you, if anyone would like to even have the opportunity to have this conversation with you, if you're that accessible. I
yep,
do know you have your website, but if there's any information that we may be lacking that you feel like the audience would like to hear, I would like for you to go ahead and do so for me, please.
absolutely. Thank you so much. So yes, I do have my website, Davette.net. And the other thing that I guess that I would plug in is I have a Facebook group for women, and it's just for powerful women who love empowering other women. And it's just a group of, you know, for women to just cheer each other on and be, you know, our badass self. And you know, it's about victories. We have our breakdown, but we want to celebrate each other's victories and just cheer each other on. So it's something I'm passionate about. And the Facebook group is under groups, but it's called Be Boss. So BEBOSS and then 777, of course, since I'm a numerologist. So yeah, so Be Boss 777. It's a Facebook group for women. I'm going to be doing some teaching on numerology and stuff as well there. But my website is where you would really find me.
Okay, and for those who don't know how to spell it, it is DAV as in Victoria, ETTE.net.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So I guess we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you so much for coming
Much.
and
Yes.
explaining this to us. Like Cian said, we're about to go bust out the calculators again.
Oh, so I would say, the vet. Not saying I'm rushing to get off, but I think I have calculations. At this point, I know my wife is going through people's birthdays and lists and names and numbers. She's already on the website. She's already doing a whole bunch of stuff. I would say this. This is I've done couple different episodes with different people. Information to me is key, but
Mhm.
there is no better key than when you're gaining information and having fun. And
Yeah.
I would say this, I if there's one thing that I would like to take away from tonight's episode is that I've attained fun with so much information. All
Awesome.
right. So again,
Wonderful.
now, guys, for anybody who missed last week's episode, we did have our guest Miles, and we did talk about the real Breonna Taylor story. So please go ahead and check that out. I want to thank Miss Davette Wheat to coming on and giving us the beautiful information about numerology. And just so you guys know, she said a couple things in the beginning, and we only stuck with numerology. So I already have my personal reasons why she will be coming back. Other than from discussing her new endeavors when she released her book, which I'm looking forward to on the greatest platforms
Awesome.
ever. So, guys, again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time on another episode of Just Context Podcast.
Like,
Peace.
comment, share, subscribe, guys. Come back next week.
Thank you guys. It was a pleasure. So much fun.